Hello everybody. Even in 2025, thousands of books will be published in the English-speaking world, if not tens of thousands, and we cannot read them all. I took a look in what publishers have announced to appear in the first half of 2025, and I found 10 titles that sound so very interesting. In most cases, I have read earlier books by the authors, so let's take a quick look and start with an author that I have not read yet and this author is Caryl Phillips. He's 66 years old. He's of British, African, Caribbean descent. He was born on St. Kitts and Nevis, and his new book will come out. His new book will be Another Man in the Street, published by Farrar, Strauss and Giroux on January the 7th, in 5 days from now. And it sounds very, very interesting to me. In London's, because I love London, you know, in London's swinging 60s, Victor Johnson, a young immigrant from the Caribbean, arrives in Britain with dreams of becoming a journalist in the mother country. Instead, he finds work collecting rent for Peter Feldman, a landlord, equally kind and unscrupulous, and then falls into a relationship with Peter's lonely secretary, Ruth, herself a migrant from the north of England to the city of London, spanning almost half a century and set against the backdrop of a country which is slowly, reluctantly evolving into a modern, multiracial society. We discover the truth of both Peter's tragic background and Ruth's agonizing secret, and witness Victor, out of his depth, adjusting to the painful realities of life in his new country. The second book comes from one of my favorite authors. I've both read his novel 5-Star Billionaire that was recommended by Chimamanda and Ngozie Adichie in The Guardian a couple of years ago, and also We the Survivors that came after it and that played in Malaysia. The South is his new book. The South by Tash, all published by Farrar, Strauss and Giroux on May 27 in the US and by Fourth Estate on February 13 already in the UK, so 3.5 months earlier in the United Kingdom. When his grandfather dies, a boy named Jay travels south with his family to the property he left them, a once flourishing farm that has fallen into disrepair. The trees are diseased, the fields parched from months of drought. Still, Jay's father, Jack, sends him out to work the land, or whatever land is left. Over the course of these hot, dense days, Jay finds himself drawn to Chuan, the son of the farm's manager, different from him in every way except for one. Out in the fields and on the streets into town, the charge between the boys intensifies. Inside the house, the other family members confront their own regrets and begin to drift apart. Like the land around them, they are powerless to resist the global forces that threaten to render their lives obsolete. At once sweeping and intimate, The South is a story of what happens when private and public lives collide. 2 weeks ago, I finished Americana by Chimamanda Ngozie, and now, 10 years later, she's back with a long-awaited novel that would probably be one of the most exciting publications of 2025. So, sit down for Dream Count by Chimamanda Ngozie Adichie, published by Fourth Estate on March 4, 2025 in the United Kingdom, and by Knopf in the USA on the very same day. Chiamaka is a Nigerian travel writer living in America. Alone in the midst of the pandemic, she recalls her past lovers and grapples with her choices and regrets. Zikora, her best friend, is a lawyer who has been successful at everything until, betrayed and brokenhearted, she must turn to the person she thought she needed least. Omelogor, Chiamaka's bold, outspoken cousin, is a financial powerhouse in Nigeria who begins to question how well she knows herself. And Kadiatu, Chiamaka's housekeeper, is proudly raising her daughter in America, but faces an unthinkable hardship that threatens all that she has worked to achieve. A few years back, I read an astonishing debut from England, Assembly by Natasha Brown, and she is now back with her new novel, Universality by Natasha Brown, published by Faber and Faber on March 13 in the UK and by Random House on March 4 in the United States. On a Yorkshire farm, a man is brutally bludgeoned with a solid gold bar. That's also on the cover of the book, as you can see. A plucky young journalist sets out to uncover the truth surrounding the attack, connecting the dots between an immoral banker landlord, an iconoclastic columnist, and a radical anarchist movement. She solves the mystery, but her viral long-read exposé raises more questions than it answers. Universality is a twisty, slippery descent into the rhetoric of truth and power. Through a voyeuristic lens, it focuses on words, what we say, how we say it, and what we really mean. I did not get to read Detransition Baby, which became something like a literary sensation in 2023, I guess. Now Torrey Peters reappears with a collection of stories, and this is called Stagdown Stories by Torrey Peters, published by Random House on March 11 and on March 13 by Serpent's Tale in the United Kingdom. Deep in the forest, a group of restless lumberjacks working an illegal logging outfit plan a winter dance that some will volunteer to attend as women. The broadest, the strongest X-Man finds himself caught in a rivalry with a pretty young Jack that culminates in jealousy, betrayal, and an astonishing spectacle of transition. Meanwhile, in other times and places, the gender apocalypse is brought about by an unstable ex-girlfriend. An illicit boarding school romance surfaces intrigue and cruelty, and a Las Vegas party weekend turns dark when a young cross-dresser must choose between a thrilling mystery man or a veteran trans woman, offering unglamorous sisterhood. Intimacies was a novel I really liked, playing in the Dutch city The Hague. Katie Kitamura is soon back with a new one. It is called Audition, and it will be published by Riverhead on April 8 in the United States and by Fern Press on April 17, 9 days later in the UK. Two people meet for lunch in a Manhattan restaurant, so Katie Kitamura is back in the United States. She's an accomplished actress in rehearsals for an upcoming premiere, but he's an attractive, troubling, young enough to be her son, actually. Who is he to her, and who is she to him? In this compulsively readable, brilliantly constructed novel, two competing narratives unspool, rewriting our understanding of the roles that we play each and every day: partner, parent, creator, muse, and the truths every performance masks, especially from those who think they know us most intimately. Convenience Store Woman and Life Ceremony were both a huge success for Japanese author Sayaka Murata. Her newest translation comes in April and reminds of what I've read before in her book Life Ceremony a little bit. Let's do it. It is Vanishing World, and it's her new novel, translated from the Japanese by Gini Tapley Takamori, published by Grove Press on April 15 in the United States, by Granta on April 28 in the United Kingdom, if you want to know the publishers. In our near future world, something that is, in our near future world, children are solely conceived by artificial insemination. Even sex between married couples is viewed as taboo. Amani's family is irregular. Her parents copulated to create her and hope that she too will find love and have a child with the person she marries. But Amani falls in line with society's way of thinking and wants a regular, clean marriage. Then she hears of a place that is the subject of a social experiment. Everyone in Paradise Eden will act as one big family. Could this be the perfect third wave? I love Graham Swift's short novel Here We Are that appeared in 2020. Last year I DNF'd his earlier book The Light of Day that was longlisted for the Booker in 2003. Now the 75-year-old author publishes a collection of stories, and it's called 12 Post-War Tales by Graham Swift, published by Knopf on May 6 in the United States and by Scribner on May 8, 2 days later only in the United Kingdom. Here are the soldiers and doctors and veterans, wives and lovers and children who have been affected in ways both subtle and profound by the cataclysms of our times. In the aftermath of World War II, a young Jewish private stationed in Germany seeks the truth about lost family members. In the 1960s, a father focuses on his daughter's wedding, even as the Cuban Missile Crisis approaches the brink of global disaster for another world war. On September the 11th, a maid working for the US Embassy staff in London wonders if her birth on the day of the Kennedy assassination determined the course of her life. And at the height of pandemic lockdown in 2021, a respiratory disease specialist comes out of retirement, and he is actually faced with a formative childhood memory. These stories show history in the making, the reverberations of each personal loss and triumph set across the sweep of decades. Ocean Vuong debuted as a novelist with his amazingly poetic novel On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I adored this book. I loved it. In May comes Ocean's second novel. It's called The Emperor of Gladness, and it will be published by Penguin Press on May 13 in the United States and on May 15, again 2 days later, by Jonathan Cape in the United Kingdom. One late summer evening in the post-industrial town of East Gladness, Connecticut, 19-year-old Hai stands on the edge of a bridge in pelting rain, ready to jump, when he hears someone shout across the river. The voice belongs to Grazina, an elderly widow succumbing to dementia, who convinces him to take another path. Bereft and out of options, he quickly becomes her caretaker. Over the course of the year, the unlikely pair develops a life-altering bond, one built on empathy, on spiritual reckoning and heartbreak, with the power to alter Hai's relationship to himself, his family, and a community at the brink. Laila Lalami's novel, The Other Americans, was a book I really enjoyed a lot. In March, she will release her new one. It is called The Dream Hotel, and it will be published by Pantheon in the United States on March 4 and by Bloomsbury Circus in the UK on the very same day. In a world without privacy, what is the cost of freedom? Sarah is returning home from a conference abroad when agents from the Risk Assessment Administration pull her over. They pull her aside at the airport and inform her that she will commit a crime. Using data from her dreams, their algorithm has determined that she presents an imminent risk to the person she loves most and must now be transferred to a retention center for 21 days to lower her risk score. But when Sarah arrives at Madison to be observed alongside other dangerous dreamers, it soon becomes clear that getting home to her family is going to cost more than just 3 weeks of good behavior. And as every minor misdemeanor, every slight deviation from the rules adds time to her stay, she begins to wonder if there might be more here than first meets the eye. Then one day, a new resident arrives, disrupting the order of the facility and setting off a chain of events that leads Sarah on a collision course with the companies that have deprived her of her freedom. 10 new books in the first half of 2025. I will probably try to get them through the library system here in Stockholm. What are you looking forward to? Tell me everything. Spoiler alert. The novel that I just finished in the comments down below, and I see you very soon on the channel. Thank you very much. Bye.